Time now to head to Vegas, where we are joined by JT the Brick, who hosts the Raiders pre- and post-game coverage, along with the national show on Sirius XM. So, first of all, thanks for joining us, JT, and Moj has got a prop for you here.
You know what, JT, just for you, a little Monte Cristo that I'm going to light up on the way home tonight. Cameraman, zoom in, as the Iron Sheik would say. Right there, that's a nice little Monte I'm going to light up. Or have that stogie, and it's going to be good. And I got to tell you a little story about JT and I. The coldest ever temperature I smoked a cigar. Minneapolis, Super Bowl, JT and I outside the W. JT, what do you think it was, like minus 20 Fahrenheit wind chill, and we're out there smoking Cubans?
It was easily the coldest day of our lives together. And that says a lot because I grew up in New York and you're Canadian and we've been to some cold weather before. But that was a memory. That was Minnesota Super Bowl back in the day, Moj.
Yeah, that was pretty cold.
Yeah, that sounds like a place drop. We'll get into that later. But listen, let's start with where you are right now, and that is Vegas. And before we get to what happened against the Chiefs, I got to ask you about Jon Gruden and just the fact that he's now suing the National Football League. And I know that we've talked about this before, that it seemed awfully convenient that of all the emails involved with that Washington investigation, just those came out involving Gruden. Just how do you see this playing out, and are you surprised at all that it's gone down this way?
Yeah, it was a hit job. I mean, this was the Washington football team's investigation. It was an oral investigation. There was not a written investigation, which is remarkable. And the hit came out on Jon Gruden and the Raiders as the season was underway, when they were sitting on these emails for a long time and no one's admitting to who leaked them. So if the NFL says we didn't leak them, then who did? It had to be someone involved in the investigation. I don't think it was the lead attorney involved, because that could ruin her career, the lead investigator. So someone got the information and leaked it, and they leaked it as the season was underway and the Raiders were playing really well. And Jon Gruden was taken out, and no one could defend what Jon Gruden said in the emails. I mean, no one saw that side of Jon Gruden. That came out. It was very unfortunate. But the fact that there's more to this investigation, and I think there's a couple of congresswomen that want to see the NFL up at the Rayburn building on Congressional Hill, and they want to talk about it, kind of like the steroid hearings back in the day. Jon Gruden just sued the NFL. And I think he wants to clear his name. So he's got a lot of juice, Jon Gruden. He's got a lot of money. He's got great attorneys, and he's not going down lightly.
Why? Why Gruden, do you think?
Well, because Gruden was in the emails, and Gruden was there. And I think they were holding back these emails because when they went through the investigation, they saw them, they flagged them, and probably to take the heat off of Daniel Snyder and the Washington football team. And I don't know, there's other conspiracy theories are above my pay grade, but it's amazing that I'm sitting here in Vegas and the only team that was affected by the $650,000 are Jon Gruden and the Raiders. It's remarkable. This was not a Raider issue. It was a Washington football team issue. And it really put a lot of pressure on the Raiders. They had to make a coaching change. They go with interim head coach Rich Bisaccia. And Jon Gruden really had the team playing well at the time. And I'm not saying that's the reason they're not playing well now. There were a lot of other incidents that you know. The unfortunate fatality accident, Henry Ruggs III, ended up killing Tina Tintor and her dog, a beautiful young 23-year-old woman out here. Damon Arnett was cut because he had a video on social media with him and a gun threatening someone. So the last couple of months have been really rough out here in Vegas. A lot of people are hurt.
JT, do you think it's a case of this team just being fatigued with everything that it's gone through thus far?
No, Moj, I don't think so. I think everybody comes to the game ready to play. They're coached well. They just ran into some good teams. Kansas City bounced back. Kansas City ran every play they always do that the Raiders have never been able to stop for whatever reason. And they were in a one-score game at MetLife against the Giants, the same Giants that almost beat Kansas City. So they're not playing good football. They got Cincinnati coming to town on Sunday. If they beat Cincinnati, they're back in the playoffs. If Kansas City loses to Dallas, we could be talking about the Raiders back in first place. So it's unfortunate that the Raiders are in this position now because they're 5-2. And if they lose this game, it'll be 3 in a row, 5-5, and they'll be on the outside looking in. And a lot of the media won't have a lot of confidence in them going forward.
Yeah, no question. And when you look at this, I mean, it seemed like Tampa last year, they wrote the book on how to defend the Kansas City Chiefs, and everybody had been following it. Even though the Chiefs had won some games, they just weren't putting up big numbers. They were making mistakes. So as you look at how the Raiders tried to defend them, why didn't they learn from what everybody else did? Because they certainly didn't play the same coverages, and you saw receivers running deep down the field open that just haven't been all season for the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Raiders have a safety in Jonathan Abram who gets really exposed in this rivalry. He just can't play in this rivalry. He gets beat all the time. And they got a brand new safety on the back end in Trayvon Merrick, who they like a lot. And this is what Kansas City does. They have a three-headed monster in Mahomes, Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill, and those players give the Raiders fits because the Raiders had a very good pass rush led by Yannick Ngakoue and Max Crosby, and they were getting pressure the whole game, but Mahomes steps up. He runs away from coverage, and then when Mahomes runs away from coverage, his receivers know where to go. A lot of other receivers on other teams just stop or they come back to the ball, and they try to get open. With Mahomes, he knows where these guys are chemistry-wise, and the Raiders are just too inexperienced on the back end. It's not a good matchup for the Raiders when they're playing the Chiefs and the play gets extended. It gets extended by 2 or 3 more seconds because the Raiders just can't cover that long.
So do you think the Chiefs are back?
Yeah, I do. I always thought the Chiefs were back. I got that right. You know, the Chiefs are allowed to go through a couple-game slump. I mean, they've been in the past 2 Super Bowls. They're winning 12, 13, 14 games a year. They go in. They can lose a couple of games, and they've had a lot of changes on the offensive line and in other position groups over the years. So I always thought they're back. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're either going to win the AFC West or be a wild card. They're the best team. I've seen it coming from behind. If they get a lead on you, you're dead. So I think Kansas City's going to be there right when it comes down to the wire again. They're not as good as they were. This is not as good as the team that went to the last 2 Super Bowls, so the road should be much more difficult.
Last thing I'll ask you before we let you go is the play of Derek Carr and just what you're seeing there, because when John Gruden was there, Carr looked like he was going to be an MVP frontrunner at some point this season. And even when he first got let go, there were still some good performances by Carr. Now it seems to have fallen off a bit. What are you seeing in his play?
I see just what you said. He's fallen off a bit. He was playing at an MVP level, and Henry Ruggs and him were having great chemistry, and Ruggs was able to bring over the double team from the top and open up the field more for Waller and Renfro and some of the other receivers. Now they bring in Deshaun Jackson, and they quickly have to make chemistry. You know, if Deshaun Jackson doesn't fumble, that would have been touchdown catch that he had Sunday night. If he just runs it into the end zone, we were talking about a field goal, a 1-score game in the third quarter, and I think the Raiders could have hung around in that game. So to answer your question, Carr's got to put it on his shoulders now. Carr has got to take over. He wants to be an elite quarterback. Now he's got to prove it. In a division with Justin Herbert, in a division with the great Patrick Mahomes, he's got to do better. And he's played well all year long. There's not a lot of criticisms with Derek Carr over the last year or two. He's not the problem. The problem isn't Derek Carr. It's a lackluster offensive line fighting through injuries. It's a young secondary that's trying to learn. It's a coaching change. There's a lot happening here, but Derek Carr is playing Joe Burrow on Sunday, and he better outplay him if the Raiders are going to keep their playoff hopes alive.
All right, Brick, as we let you go, all 3 of us will be in Los Angeles for the big game, SoFi Stadium. I'll bring a few of these with me as well, right, so we can have a cigar in a much warmer climate this time around. Yes. Who are the 2 teams? You tell me, who are the 2 teams that are going to be in SoFi?
Moj, I'm one of the only ones in the history of radio who gives, I have a Super Bowl preview show the week of the start of the regular season because everybody wants to change their mind when their team gets knocked out. I had it, and I'll stay with it. Buffalo over Green Bay in the Super Bowl. Green Bay looks like they're on a really good path to get there. Buffalo's had a couple of bumps in the road, but I'll still go Buffalo beats Green Bay. First time in my career I've ever picked Buffalo to win the Super Bowl and stay behind it.
I could live with that.
That'd be a lot of fun. Good storyline right there if they wind up winning after those 4 losses back in the 80s. JT, thanks so much for doing this. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks so much, guys. Good seeing you.
Thanks, JT.